You ever find yourself lying awake at 2 a.m. scrolling through survival gear videos thinking, if the world ended tomorrow, would any of this junk actually save me? I've been there. Let me take you back to the night that changed everything for me. I was deep in the woods, rain coming down like the sky was angry, backpack stuffed with every must-have gadget the internet could sell me. Tactical shovel? Check. Folding knife with a bottle opener and a compass in the handle? Check. Waterproof matches in a plastic case that looked like it belonged in a cereal box? Double check. But when the storm hit, reality hit harder. The shovel bent the first time I tried to dig a fire pit. The knife snapped when I tried to split a piece of wet wood. Blade folded right onto my fingers, blood everywhere. I wrapped it with a cheap bandage that soaked through in minutes. The matches fizzled out and I ended up huddled under a garbage bag, shivering so hard my teeth felt like they'd crack. I remember staring at that pile of broken gear, thinking, this is it. This is how people die, believing the marketing, not the science. That night, I promised myself, never again. Never another dollar wasted on fantasy. Never another night spent betting my life on junk. So listen up. I'm not here to sell you a dream. I'm here to torch the myths, drag the truth into the daylight, and hand you the only 7 tools you'll ever need when civilization collapses. No fluff, no filler, no tactical nonsense. Just the real stuff. The gear that works, the science that saves, and the mindset that keeps you moving when everyone else is frozen in fear. And I'll warn you now, some of this is going to sting, especially if you've got a closet full of survival junk. But if you stick with me, you'll walk away with more than a shopping list. You'll have a blueprint for staying alive when the world goes dark. Let's start with the first tool, the one that separates the survivors from the collectors. Not a Rambo knife, not a folding blade with 17 attachments, but a real, full-tang, fixed blade knife. Here's why. When you're out there, cold, hungry, and desperate, your knife is your lifeline. It's not just for cutting paracord or whittling sticks. It's for splitting kindling, prying open cans, scraping bark for tinder, and if it comes to it, defending yourself from whatever's lurking in the shadows. The science is simple. A full-tang knife means the blade and handle are one solid piece of steel. No weak points, no folding mechanisms to jam or snap. High-carbon steel holds an edge longer, but stainless resists rust. Pick your poison, but don't cheap out. I've seen cheap knives snap in half when batoning wood, leaving their owners with nothing but regret and a handful of broken dreams. Let me give you a real-world example. I once watched a buddy try to baton wood with a folding knife. The blade folded right onto his fingers, blood everywhere, panic in his eyes. It took us 20 minutes to stop the bleeding with a makeshift bandage. If he'd had a full-tang fixed blade, that never would have happened. Out here, mistakes aren't just painful, they're dangerous. Pause here. Do you actually own a full-tang knife? If you do, grab it. Feel the weight. If you don't, make a note. This isn't optional. It's the difference between being prepared and being a statistic. And here's a challenge. Next time you're out, try batoning a piece of wood with your knife. If it bends, chips, or folds, you've got the wrong tool. Trust me, you don't want to learn that lesson in a real emergency. But a knife alone won't keep you alive. The second tool is fire. Not a magnesium block that takes 1,000 strikes, not a windproof lighter that dies in the cold, but a simple, reliable ferrocerium rod. Why? Because when your hands are numb, your nerves are shot, and the rain is coming down sideways, you need something that works every single time. Ferro rods throw sparks at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to ignite almost anything, even if it's wet. The chemistry is beautiful. Ferrocerium is a synthetic alloy that shaves off burning hot particles when scraped with steel. That's what lights your tinder, even when the world is against you. But here's the trick nobody tells you. Your fire starter is only as good as your tinder. Cotton balls soaked in petroleum jelly, birch bark, fat wood shavings, stash them in a waterproof bag. When everything is soaked, dry tinder is worth more than gold. Fire isn't just about warmth, it's about morale. It's about cooking food, purifying water, signaling for help, and keeping the darkness at bay. In a world gone silent, the crackle of a fire is a stubborn act of defiance. And if you've ever spent a night without it, you know exactly what I mean. Let's talk about redundancy. I carry 3 fire methods minimum: a ferro rod, a big lighter sealed in a Ziploc, and a handful of storm-proof matches. If all fails, I know how to make char cloth at home. Just toss some cotton in a tin, heat it over a fire until it stops smoking, and you've got tinder that'll catch a spark from even a weak ferro rod. And yeah, I've even tried the bow drill. It's slow, it's sweaty, and it'll make you curse your ancestors. But in a pinch, it works. The point is, never trust your life to a single method. Fire is life, but only if you respect it. Here's an interactive challenge. Next time you're home, turn off the lights, open a window, and try to start a fire with your current kit. No cheating. If you can't get a flame in 5 minutes, you need to rethink your setup, because when the world burns, you won't get a second chance. Now let's talk about water. The third tool is a single-walled stainless steel bottle. Not a plastic Nalgene, not a double-walled thermos, but a metal bottle you can boil water in directly over a fire. Here's the biology. Your body is 60% water. Lose just 1% and you'll feel thirsty. At 3%, you're irritable, your mouth is dry, and your focus starts to slip. At 5%, you get headaches, muscle cramps, and your decision-making goes out the window. At 10%, you're delirious, stumbling, and one step from collapse. I've seen desert hikers at 4% dehydration make the dumbest choices, walking away from shade, ignoring water sources, getting lost because their brains just stopped working. The CDC says boiling is the gold standard for purification. 1 rolling minute kills bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Filters are great until they freeze, clog, or break. Chemicals work, but they run out. Boiling is forever, as long as you have fire and a vessel that won't melt. But a metal bottle is more than just a canteen. It's a cooking pot, a digging tool, a way to melt snow, and even a makeshift weapon if things get ugly. And here's a science tidbit. Water conducts heat 25 times faster than air. If you fall into a river, you'll lose body heat in minutes. That's why having a way to make hot drinks, soups, or just warm water is a game changer. It's not just about hydration, it's about survival. Here's a viewer challenge. Fill your metal bottle with tap water, bring it to a boil, and taste the difference. Now imagine doing that with muddy creek water. If you can't stomach it, you need to practice, because in a real collapse, clean water is a luxury, not a guarantee. But water is heavy, and you can't carry enough for more than a day or two. That's why the fourth tool is a real map and compass. Not a GPS, not a phone app, but paper and magnetism. When the satellites go silent and the batteries die, the only thing that will get you out of the dead zone is knowing where you are and where you're going. The Earth is a giant magnet, and a compass needle aligns with its field. It doesn't care about EMPs, solar flares, or dead batteries. And a map, an actual physical map, shows you the rivers, ridges, and roads that might still be passable. Most people can't read a map anymore. That's not an insult, it's a fact. But if you can, you have a superpower. In a world where everyone else is lost, you'll be the one who knows which way is north. Here's a quick drill. Grab a map of your area, find your house, and plot a route to the nearest river or forest. Now do it without using your phone. If you get lost, you've got homework. Because when the world burns, Google Maps won't save you. Let's talk night navigation. The North Star, Polaris, always points north in the northern hemisphere. Find the Big Dipper, follow the 2 stars at the end of the bowl straight up, and you'll hit Polaris. Moss on trees? That's a myth. It grows wherever it's damp, not just north. Instead, use the handrail technique. Follow a river, a ridge, or a road as your guide. It's how lost hikers find their way out when the batteries die and the panic sets in. Let's get to shelter. The 5th tool isn't a tent. Tents are heavy, bulky, and useless if you need to move fast. What you want is a simple, rugged tarp, 6 by 8 feet, waterproof with reinforced grommets. Why? Because a tarp is the most versatile piece of shelter you can carry. It can be a roof, a ground sheet, a rain catch, a windbreak, even a stretcher if you need to drag someone out of danger. The physics are simple. A tarp blocks wind and rain, traps heat, and keeps you off the cold, wet ground. With a few feet of paracord, yes, this is where paracord actually matters, you can rig a shelter in minutes, adjust it for the weather, and pack it away when you need to move. Let's talk rigging. The classic A-frame is great for rain. The lean-to is perfect for wind. But there's more. The plow point shelter, stake one corner into the wind, pull the other corners back, and you've got a low, wind-shedding bunker. The diamond configuration? Tie one corner to a tree, stake the others, and you've got a quick, open shelter for hot weather. Each setup has its place. The key is knowing which to use and when. Here's a scenario. It's midnight, the rain is coming down in sheets, and you need shelter fast. Can you rig a tarp shelter in under 5 minutes? If not, practice. Because when hypothermia is stalking you, every second counts. And don't forget, the ground will suck the heat out of you faster than the air. Use leaves, pine needles, or even your backpack to create a barrier. In winter, dig a trench and cover it with a tarp for a snow cave. In summer, sleep off the ground to avoid insects and snakes. Adapt your shelter to the environment, not the other way around. Now food. The sixth tool isn't a fishing kit, a snare wire, or a bag of freeze-dried meals. It's a metal canteen cup or small pot. Why? Because you can cook anything in it. Rice, beans, wild greens, even the occasional unlucky squirrel. You can boil water, make tea, or just have something warm to hold when the cold gets into your bones. Your body needs calories, but it also needs hot food to keep your core temperature up and your morale from collapsing. A metal cup is indestructible, easy to clean, and can be used over any fire. Forget the fancy camp stoves and titanium sporks. A simple cup is the difference between eating and starving, between hope and despair. Here's the challenge. Go outside, gather some wild greens, make sure you know what's safe, and cook them in your cup. Taste the bitterness, feel the warmth. That's survival. And if you're really desperate, you can use your cup to dig, to signal, or even to bail out a leaky boat. I've learned this the hard way in the field. When you're hungry, tired, and cold, a hot cup of anything is worth more than gold. And now the seventh tool, the one nobody ever talks about because you can't buy it on Amazon or find it in a bug-out bag. It's knowledge. The ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome. The skill to make a fire in the rain, to find edible plants, to read the weather in the clouds, to stitch a wound with shaking hands. All the gear in the world is useless if you don't know how to use it, or if you freeze up when things go sideways. Survival isn't about stuff, it's about mindset. The will to keep moving when your feet are blistered, your stomach is empty, and the world is falling apart. The confidence to trust your instincts, to make decisions when there's no one left to ask. You can't pack that in a bag, but you can build it, one hard lesson at a time. Let's talk about the rule of threes. You can survive 3 hours without shelter in bad weather, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Gear helps you beat the clock, but mindset decides if you even start the timer. I've seen people with the best gear freeze up because they couldn't handle the stress. I've seen others with nothing but a knife and a tarp walk out alive because they refused to quit. Let's get real about the psychology of survival. When the world burns, most people freeze. They panic, they cling to routines, they wait for rescue that isn't coming. The real survivors are the ones who adapt, who improvise, who keep moving even when every instinct screams to stop. Improvisation is the secret sauce. The best survivors see tools where others see trash. A broken bottle becomes a cutting edge. A bit of wire becomes a snare. A plastic bag becomes a rain catch, a poncho, even a makeshift window. Shoelaces can be a tourniquet. A sock can be a pre-filter for dirty water. Your belt, a sling for a busted arm. Even a credit card can scrape fat wood for tinder. The world is full of resources if you know how to use them. That's why knowledge is the most important tool of all. It lets you turn the ordinary into the extraordinary, to make do with what you have, to survive when everyone else is waiting for rescue. But let's not romanticize this. Survival is ugly, dirty, and hard. You'll be cold, hungry, scared, and alone. You'll make mistakes, you'll get hurt, you'll want to give up. But if you have the right tools, the real tools, not the fantasy gear, you have a fighting chance. And that's all anyone can ask for when the world burns.